Hey everyone, welcome back to the Craftsman's Guide. As always, I'm Cameron. Today we've built a thing. This is the biggest project I've ever worked on. I've tried some new techniques and I'm really happy with how they turned out. I hope you guys enjoy them too. Let's get to it. We're going to start this build how we just about start every other, by cutting a bunch of foam to shape. I wanted a circular base to build this onto rather than it just freestanding. Then I cut a bunch of different blocks, got a bunch of different scrap, and I spent a long time trying to assemble what I thought would look pretty good. Eventually, this is what we came up with. I then went ahead and started sticking it all together. I ran out of hot glue and tried to use PVA. It was a mess, it went everywhere, nothing stuck. Just save yourself some time and get hot glue. I tried a new stone shaping technique for this build, which I was really happy with. I mostly focused on horizontal cuts and then pulling the stone to make jagged edges. I wanted to add a couple little bits of detail that suggested there used to be a building here. I always use a mini for scale when I begin shaping things because I want it to be playable. I had an idea to make a set of double doors that looked like the tunnel behind them is caved in, so I destroyed one door and left one relatively new, but old looking. I plan to make a few modular pieces that can go on the top of this mountain, and I wanted to make an obelisk to sort of go with the wizard tower aesthetic. I had no plan and just started carving into a bit of foam, added some old runes, and then I ended up snapping it and gluing it on top. So I've added a couple details before the Sculptamould goes on, but there is a couple more which I want to put on afterwards, so I'm going to work on those while it dries. Let's get to it! I realized that I didn't actually have a campfire for the players to use if they were to camp on this mountain. So I got to work with a tea light I had lying around and made a flickering campfire. I actually ended up not using this campfire because it was more of a bonfire. It's a little too large for the area which I had, but I made one without an LED a little smaller to use. It was time to reach for the trusty Sculptamould and begin to fill in the cracks between all the rocks. This is one of my favourite parts to do because it really brings it all together, but I also hate it because it takes a long time, it dries, and it hurts my fingers. Once I had smoothed out the Sculptamould and it had dried, I moved on to making a Modge Podge mix. For a build this big, I needed a lot, so I added a lot of water so it would flow easier, and also I'd save money. When the Modge Podge had all dry, I went and added the stone flocking. Usually I'd do this before the Modge Podge stays, but I kind of just forgot. I really like the look of twisted and gnarled trees, so using the same technique I made in my trees video, which I'll link above, I made some twisted and withered trees, formed them to the rock, put them together and waited for them to dry. Now I wanted to shy away from the usual grey paint job on the rock and go for a more clay sort of brown look. I opted to mix up my own brown paint so that the tone was inconsistent and gave more depth in the end. I ensured to change it up and make it lighter and darker in different areas. It was especially wet because I wanted it to leave through some of those darker tones underneath. And once it had dried, I did a similar thing with the dry brushing, mixed up my own and gently brushed over everything. And I have to say that I'm really happy with how this turned out. The amount of depth that I got out of this, the darks, the lights, the highlights, it looked really good. Here's a comparison between before dry brushing and then after dry brushing. The obelisk in the doorway blended in a little bit too much, so I went in with a grey dry brush and just brushed the stones of the door and also the top of the obelisk. Not forgetting the little head that I snapped off. I mixed a brown and a silver to finish the door metal to make it look a little old. It's been raining for a few days here in Melbourne, and my phone that I use to record doesn't do particularly well in low light, so I apologise if there's been any shots which have been a little bit dark. But nonetheless, we are now done with the painting process for the most part. I've just finished off the trees with a gentle little bit of dry brushing. So now that it's finally complete, I'm so excited to finish it off. This is the biggest project that I've ever done, and in the future I will be adding to it, including a ruined wizard tower and a couple other things in future videos. So stay around for that. I'm so excited. Let's get to it. Woo! If you wanted a bit more of a barren landscape, you could leave it at this stage and just add some withered trees and branches and brush around, but I wanted a high contrast sort of green lens. So laying down PVA, I got a fine turf flocking and began to very selectively sprinkle it around. Making use of the stone technique, which I tried out in this video, all of those horizontal lines made the perfect shelves for the flocking to sit in. I had an idea to use coarse turf as bushes, so I clumped them up, got a bottle of PVA and water and dripped it over so that they'd harden and solidify, making these sort of shrubbery bushes. I really like this, and will definitely be using it again. I wanted to add a little bit of final details, including some flowers on the bushes. So I got a yellow sponge, used a wash to dye them a little bit darker so they weren't as vibrant, and then I placed them around the place. It looked really good, they looked like dandelions. I saw this little hole here and I thought that would make a perfect little burrow, so I added some little twigs and made a sort of a barrier where something would have built up a wall. And in the same mindset of creatures living here, I wanted to make a bird's nest to put in one of the withered trees. I plan in the future to make a giant roc's nest to sit on top, so this was a really fun idea that I had going through my head. And here you are, the build complete. I opted to not use pigments on this build because I want to add to it in the future, but I'm really happy with how this turned out. I had a bunch of fun trying a bunch of new techniques, and I really can't wait to add more to it in the future. This was a huge project and I really hope that you enjoyed. If you did, please consider leaving a like, a subscribe, commenting down below what you want to see me add to this build or build in the future. If you want to help support me and this channel, please head over to Patreon. There you get access to exclusive benefits if you're a patron. All money will be going back into the channel and improving the content I bring to you. I hope that you guys are staying safe, having a great day, and as always, I will see you on the next adventure.